Do that again.
There
So
we
we are live. It's
Yes,
never
we
a
are
good
live.
second time, is it?
I hope it sounded okay.
So welcome along, guys, to our Thursday night Blether. We've got a cracking lineup. I was going to say, I wonder if you can guess where we're coming from, but the name on the title will give it away. The Blether with Antea. I was going to get anyone to guess if they could recognise the distillery in the background. So
Cows.
yeah, the cows at the bottom and the pagoda on the top.
If you know the name, if you know the name of the cows, any of the cows, you'll get a free bottle. Yeah.
Antea is not allowed to enter that one, but she probably will. It looks like they're getting chased by the combine harvester that you're so.
That's quite possible. It would be if I was driving. I think that would be.
So, hey guys, it's middle of June. I've finally got one of these Blethers sitting outside, which is also wonder how long that'll last. 8 o'clock, I'll probably be back in absolutely Baltic. But
You're in tropical Inverurie. I'm in subarctic Foggy, so it's not sunny here. Unfortunately, I've come inside and shut the windows.
I worked up a sweat. I'm having to move my whiskey upstairs just now, so I knew I had quite a bit of whiskey downstairs. I didn't realize just it was like 12 boxes. So moving up there, so I worked up quite a sweat. So I'm quite glad to be in the cold, cooling down. I had to check for wet patches under the armpits before it came out.
Quite a fresh shirt.
Yeah, I must be fitter than I thought. Good evening, Phil. Nice to have you along again.
Hi, Phil.
Great to see you. So yeah, as you all know, if you've been on before, a nice relaxing chat. We'll get to know Antea. If you have any questions about Kilchoman, big reveal, that's the distillery in the background. Or if you want to know any more about Antea herself, or as a kind of last desperate gasp to the shop, we're not here to promote the whiskey shop. We're here to talk to people in the industry, which is what we're all about. So any questions, pop them in the chat. We'll do our best between the three of us to come up with an answer. And yeah, enjoy the hour. Let us know what you're drinking. Pop that in chat as well. We're always interested to know what whiskies are getting poured. It's not quite midweek. We're heading towards the weekend.
This is the warm up for tomorrow.
Yeah, some of you might be saving yourselves for tomorrow, or you might be starting already to make sure you're ready for tomorrow.
For the trauma.
It could be a long watch, couldn't it? So without further ado, let's bring on Antea and welcome her to our Blether.
Hello everyone.
How are you? Welcome.
I'm good. Yeah, how are you?
Excellent.
Very well, thank you.
I just wanted to say, isn't it Thursday, the new Friday at the end of the day? I mean, we should celebrate Thursdays as well.
I think so. Yeah. Well, Wednesday's a mini weekend, isn't it? That's when you need to have a drink to break up the week. And then Thursday, you're just kind of warming up. We've got Phil on a Senaig 2020. Actually, found when I was tidying up my cabinet, I had a Senaig 2020. There's merely a dribble left. I should have actually taken it out just to kill the bottle. And I thought there's hardly anything in it. So I almost joined you. I've just poured myself a 21 Loch Gorm.
Nice.
Nice one.
To warm up with. It's an absolute beautiful whiskey. Possibly my favourite of the Loch Gorms that I've tried. I did get to taste last year's one. So.
And I've just poured the last year's club release, which is an unpeated Oloroso. But there definitely smells like a hint of peat there, so it's maybe oak. But yeah, unpeated Oloroso. Yeah, so there we go.
Lovely. And yeah, we're on a roll. So I'm trying one of the latest Mezcal casks. So this is a single cask finished in Mezcal for over 6 months. And yeah, let's give it a go together because I haven't even sipped it. I've, kept it to discuss it with you. It's my first time, second time on this cask, but since it was bottled, that's going to be my first time.
Oh, Slager.
Yeah, cheers, everybody. Sludge. It's my fancy new glass. I picked up some glasses from the Glendronach distillery. So
lovely shape.
Yeah.
I think they're not sherry tulip glasses or something. I don't know what
Yeah, the Cooper.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll hide the name of the distillery. Sorry, Antea.
It's all right.
It's a similar shape to this one, isn't it?
Mhm.
Yeah, with the stem, it's really good because you take away that sort of almost contrast with your hands, whatever smell you can pick up with your hands. So it's always a really good one if you want to keep things very professional.
Yeah, I quite like them because when you're, especially on screen, when you're talking about it, you want to talk about the color, so you can see the color on the hand. Whereas if you use a Glencairn, it's your hand kind of reflects in the glass, or you're right at the bottom.
Exactly. Yeah. A little bit is reflecting, but it's a brilliant glass. I mean, I use it every day, and they're really sturdy compared to the other tasting glasses. So, but anyway,
I seem to have a very big one. This is an upper harder pour. Typical measure. That's what you need. It's cold up north, so you need a bigger pour.
Bigger glass.
It's a very generous measure.
If you poured smaller drams, you'd have to go to the fridge more often, which
that's right.
The fridge or the cabinet more often. So you get a bit of exercise there.
Exactly. Keeps your feet.
Yeah, that's what I said to Tony when I was moving all my boxes upstairs of whiskey. I'm just going to get a lot fitter because I'm going to have to climb the stairs a lot more often. Which is, let's hope that goes through, because the great thing about Zoom is we stop there. You don't see anything below this. This is where it's all going.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, when we're getting back to real life, we're gonna share everything.
Yeah. So, in your glass, Antea, you just poured the new Mezcal finish, full finish.
Yeah, Mezcal finish single cask. So this one it's really good. Actually, you know what? I thought it was going to develop into a more smoky character, but actually developed into a lot more sweetness. And I'm really surprised with that. It's actually a really warm drum. It's almost like it's hugging you. So I really like it. It's completely different from what I've tried before. It does have that sort of charred agave sort of smell to it. It's like being in a hot summery day next to a bonfire almost. So very, very different.
I am next to a fire pit, but it's not on. It's on standby, depending on how cold it gets. But
probably in the next hour it'll get on.
yeah. Now that I've forgotten, because it's myself comfortable.
But it's also very, very fruity. I mean, it's incredible. But anyway, sorry.
Yeah. I was just going to say, like mezcal, tequila, these kind of drinks. In Scotland, there's such a, I wouldn't say negative connotation, but it's drunk to get drunk. You don't sip and savor generally. So it's quite interesting. He's got, and I'm hoping, because there are some fantastic mezcal out there, I'm hoping as whiskey experiments with it might put more people into drinking quality. And I'm not talking about your pub £2 a shot, light it in lime and salt and all that. They can keep that. But that's the kind of connotation we have as a culture in Scotland of tequila, is let's drink it to get drunk, or mezcal. So I'm really interested to see if we start to develop a taste for it, because we find that a lot of people kind of taste a whiskey in a cask and they think, oh, I wonder what that cask, whether it's sherry, whether it's wine or whatever, they'll go and source it and taste it as it was before whiskey got involved. So let's hope, because it's quite a sweet spirit, a well-made mezcal.
It is. It's very surprising. I mean, as most of the youngster in my younger years, I have used tequila in a very inconsiderate manner, and same for mezcal as well. I've tried really cheap mezcal, which weren't really my taste, but they did the job at the time. But there are some amazing products, which I feel like it's a matter of, as everything else, learning about it before drinking it. What to expect is probably the most important thing around everything that you're going to try for the very first time, or in a completely different way, in a completely different experience. So really hope that there's going to be more and more people that are going to be touching the final customers and bringing this, people, these drinks to life and these people to knowledge, because yeah, it's an incredible industry, and they're doing amazingly well with their products. They're incredibly lucky with, you know, the quality of the agave they can source around the areas in Mexico. So it's a very underrated drink because we abused it in a very inconsiderate way, but it does have a lot to offer. And I still kind of learn from it. I mean, I was having a read about the cask that we use for this one, and it was previously used for bourbon. So it does have some sort of correlation with whiskey whenever we're talking, you know, reposado or even older ones. So it does have that sort of maturation, that sort of aging and refinery of the product as well, which can lead to a product that might be not similar, but in a way suitable for our palates as well.
I was going to say something. Well, what I was going to say is I'm very ignorant about tequila, and you kind of answered my question because I wondered how it was aged. So I guess it's aged in ex-bourbon barrels then, or good tequila would be. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this would be a barrel that would have had bourbon, then tequila, then whiskey. Would be the kind of
Unlike unlike whiskey, tequila can also, or mezcal, can also be released unaged and still be called a mezcal or a tequila. There is that kind of you make spirit style.
Really?
Level. Añejo, is it Añejo?
Añejo as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then reposado, which is like the older one. So yeah, there are different stages, and you know, the legislation, it's very, very clear about what they can do, the aging, and it's also very easy to define. If you want to go for, you know, something to mix, you will choose the spirit type, the añejo, and for something more of a tasting kind of evening, or something that you want to meditate a little bit and discover a little bit more, probably on the reposado side is, you know, what you'll be looking for. So there's definitely bits and pieces which we can learn, and take it from there.
Awesome. And it works well with Kilchoman Spirit.
It does.
Is this the first in the Scotch whiskey? Is this going to be the first tequila or first mezcal?
Well, I know there has been another whiskey which has been aged in either of the two. It was either mezcal or tequila, I can't remember. But we launched a single cask finished in tequila and a single cask finished in mezcal pretty much at the same time in two different route to markets. So maybe one of the two was the first one. But I wouldn't be 100% sure until I read it on the next whiskey Bible or something like that.
Yeah, because I mean, I know a lot of guys are experimenting with it in the anticipation that it was going to be allowed in the rules. And just was it the tail end of last year it got released that yes, you can now release whiskey aged.
On you go.
And it's, you know, it's there, so it's like great. So how can the guys watching? I know we say we're not about promoting the whiskies and Kilchoman or whatever in these chats. How can the guys watch and get their hands on this whiskey? Is it available in the UK? Or
these are all sold out, but we are in the process of maturing more casks, so there's probably going to be something available soon. It could be in the UK, it could be around Europe. We still need to define that, but yeah, it'll be good to see it in the UK, because I think it's going to be a really popular one, you know, for the more curious and for people that want to learn a little bit around tequila and mezcal from whiskey as well. But we are obviously doing a lot more experimentation. I mean, I'm pretty sure that there's going to be a single cask release, which is going to be a little bit of a sneaky peek of what's coming next. So during the summer, we're going to be doing our second comparison series, which we released back in, I think it was March. So for the first one, we've done we've picked two bourbon barrels, first fill. One, it was 50 ppm. The other one was Kilchoman malt, so the 20 ppm. It was just to show the differences around, the spirit type, qualities, how they develop into cask. And for this time, we selected 2 new finishes. So we're going to see something that we never really released before. And they're going to be side by side. So people can decide to get both and try them both to see how, it develops, how different they could be, even if it's going to be similar type of wood, but with different spirit maturation. Or, pick the one that they feel like, is going to be more their taste. And yeah, just try that one and maybe come back to the shop to try the other one before it's gone.
Right, so that'll be a shop exclusive.
Yes.
We've had a couple of Keith Duncan, he's down in Edinburgh.
Hi, Keith.
Your good stuff. Said it's a perfect evening for watching the sunset. So let us know what dram you've got, Keith. Good evening to Tamara, who's joined us. Tamara, I think, has been on quite a lot of our Blether, so nice to see you back.
Yeah.
Hi,
Tamara. Hi, Keith.
Phil is asking, will there be any more Sauterne finishes soon?
So we have some Sauternes, which they might be ready soon. So, well, you never know with us. It's always a bit of a guess. We're always like, well, what should we do? Should we release this one? Should we release the other one? But I feel like, there'll be a new one coming out soon. And yeah, we have some lovely Sauterne finish, which they're amazing. So yeah, I hope so.
That sounds like quite good fun. Having that kind of will we do this, will we do that? It's a kind of a nice kind of relaxing feel to it. And I suppose it kind of leads back into one of the questions. I'm jumping in Mike's toes a little bit here, but just asking about how you got into the industry and what's it like working for Kilchoman.
Well, I got into the industry back in 2013 when I moved in Scotland. I always worked in bars and I always been a bartender since I was very little. I mean, I was 14 when I started, and when I moved to Scotland, I was like, should I continue to do cocktails and work in cocktail bar, or should I focus on something? And where else to focus on something than in Scotland and to choose whiskey? So I was lucky enough to come across the Scotch Malt Whisky Society, and the guys brought me in September 2013, and I spent almost 2 years there. Which I loved, and I've learned an incredible amount of things. So after that, I started working into sales, and I worked for Diageo. And when I came back to Scotland, because I worked for Diageo in Italy, because I'm Italian, as you can hear by my accent, when I came back into Scotland, I started working for Tennent's. So I worked for Tennent's for about 4 years. I always had that sort of hole. It was like a void in my heart. I mean, I was always buying whiskies, reading about whiskies, and even like within my team, they always, tag me as the whiskey nerd. So every time we were out, they were like, what should I drink? Or a customer were like, can you do me a whiskey list? And I was like, oh, I really wish, I was in the whiskey industry and, I could do that full time, because that was something that really warmed my heart. So when the opportunity came, I joined the family, and yeah, it's been an incredible 9 months so far. And yeah, working for Kilchoman is, completely different from working for, a big company. It's a family business. And as I never worked for a family business before, I found myself into this completely different pattern of things. And even though it's a family, they're really well structured. The system, the decision making, it's all there. It's not up in the air, as you would imagine, in a family. No, it was you. Or I mean, at least, my Italian family mindsets, at least. So yeah, it's been incredible, and I've learned an incredible amount of stuff with the few visits that I was lucky enough to do to Islay. And something that Anthony said to me on my interview was like, well, if you start, you're going to be coming on to Islay, you're going to be distilling. Are you up to do that? I was like, where do I sign up? I want to do that tomorrow. It hasn't mentioned 6 o'clock start, but yeah, I have to say it was nice enough anyway.
Brilliant.
So it's been a bit of a roller coaster, but yeah, I got there.
I can't believe it's only been 9 months.
No, I know. I was just thinking that because I remember the first training that you did with us. Was that really 9 months ago? Yeah.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah. It feels like. I mean, in a way, I feel like that this time it's just flew by, and it's still December for me. I still don't know where the last 6 months have gone.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, we've done so far.
I've been speaking to a couple of reps today and previously, and ambassadors and guys who've taken on so much extra work because they've been working from home, and now they're moving out and they're getting to units, whether it's bars or hotels or shops like yourself, and they say they had no idea how they managed to fit everything in before, and now they've got extra, and now they're going back out. They've got a full day without the travel now, and it's like, man, so they're having to squeeze it. Do you find yourself in that kind of boat now? Now that you're on the road again?
I do. It's weird. I mean, I used to juggle between hundreds of things, and now I'm like, one thing is already too much. But one thing I've missed was visiting accounts and being out there speaking to people. And I feel like the all the lockdowns and being restricted in such a small space has really taken that away from us, even though we've been doing loads of amazing live tastings and Zoom tastings and talking to people all over the world. It's not the same thing. Traveling, seeing people, even like shaking hands. I mean, I really missed that part. And obviously, visiting accounts, it's such a big part of our day-to-day job, and also keeps us up to date with what's happening in the industry, which otherwise, it's very hard to find out.
Yeah, but absolutely.
Let's say that the time in the last 9 months of trying to get things done has been really useful. It's given me the time to focus on a lot of stuff that otherwise I seriously couldn't have known how I would have done it.
We just had the.
Sorry, mate.
Sorry, I'm just going to. Darren's just asked a quick question here before. So he's just asked, what would be your recommendation for somebody who hasn't tried Kilchoman before? First thing I would say to that is, why not? Why not?
Well, I think my recommendation will be to try 100% Islay. And that's because there's the very reason for Kilchoman to be what it is. So a distillery that can do everything on site, can malt their own barley, source the peat locally, and it really brings together what Anthony wanted to do from the very beginning and his dreams. So yeah, absolutely. That's the spirit of Kilchoman. That's the result of a really long story, which is Anthony's story.
Yeah, awesome. I think personally, I would recommend the Macker Bay I get what you mean about the whole story of Kilchoman, and that maybe as an easier step in. Personally, I would say Macker Bay. If it depends on what peated whiskey you've had, Darren.
Before
Kilchoman is quite a nice introduction, not just to Kilchoman, but also to peated whiskey. So I would suggest you get a tasting and do them all. Yeah,
exactly.
I agree with you, Mike. I think the slightly less sherried peated whiskies are the better ones to try first. For me, if you're used to a very sherried whiskey, to suddenly have a hit of peat in there, it's quite a bizarre thing for your palate to begin with. And I think it's an easier thing to start with a more ex-bourbony sort of peat before you go into the kind of heavily sherried. But once you do get into heavily sherried, the flavors are phenomenal.
Yeah.
But it's quite a shock to your palate going from a sherried Speyside to a sherried peated.
So he's currently got a Colila 18 in the glass, which I believe is unpeated, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, well,
Nice
you've
one.
got good taste.
So what's your favorite one of the range, or your favorite one that you've tried so far? Sorry, I'm reversing table here, asking the questions.
I go back to what Phil was asking. The Sauterne, you had a Sauterne. I think it was 2017. Was outstanding. I'm looking forward to. You wouldn't think it from the level of the bottles, but the port cask. Wow.
Oh, I love that.
Phenomenal. It's one of these, and I'm kind of having a wee giggle at the comments coming up. What people have. There's been about a dozen, and we've talked about the whiskies in our glass. Nobody's mentioned the same one twice. We've had Snake, we've had Macher Bay, we've had 100% Isla. Tamara's just come up with a rum cask, and also the Kilchoman Quarter cask, which started her on her whiskey journey.
Wow.
It's great to start off in an Isla. Very, very rare you see people start off their whiskey journey in Isla. So that's fantastic. And then you're coming out with your club editions, and
I know, and I was going to say my favourite Kilchoman's the next one I've got in my glass. I mean, it's that way that they're all fantastic. But I mean, I suppose I love the Sanig. I think it's fantastic. But I think by that stage I'd got used to, because my first experience of a sherry whiskey with, I think, the Torfa, the glass of Torfa, it didn't marry for me. It just didn't work. So I was a bit reluctant to go back into that kind of flavour mix. But Kilchoman's kind of got me back into it again. And I've got the PX just sitting behind me on the shelf there that I haven't opened yet. I'm desperate to open. I'm not going to do that tonight. I'm going to stick with what I've got in the glass.
Cracking dram, yeah.
we do like a bottle open on the. No pressure.
I was kind of hoping you'd maybe get me some of that port or red wine. Is there any of that left?
This is the red wine I've just poured myself.
Nice.
Which was last year.
Founder's
Tamara's
Cask.
At the end of last year, the Founder's Cask.
Tamara's currently got more than 20 different Kilchomans in our cabinet.
Wow.
I think we need to go visit Tamara.
Absolutely. Well done. Great collection as well. That's amazing. That's probably more than I have in the house.
Dad has popped up 40 odd bottles in his collection. You have provided 50%. So I take it that is us as a shop and not Kilchoman, is seen as you're asking to get into Kilchoman. I'm going to say
maybe both.
So
I think so. Yeah, that's the way I read it.
Yeah. So cheers, Darren. I'd really like to know where you're going for the other 50%.
Loyalty. What's going on here?
Just on the subject, we're getting into Colilas and other whiskies. You walk into your whiskey bar socially, not working, and you look at the shelves. And I know it'll never happen, but hypothetically, you look at a good whiskey bar. There's no Kilchoman on the shelf. What do you look for next? What's your next kind of go-to dram?
Usually, it's either a Springbank or Kilkerran, or if I'm feeling I want something a little bit sweeter and want to stay Highland Speyside, usually I'll try to search for a Lingwood or something juicy, as long as it's juicy and sweet. But I have to say, I do have some whiskies which I really like, and I have in the house as well. So they've been keeping me company for over the lockdown, and it's usually a bit of a mix. I like that sort of umami flavor, that sort of influence in coastal influence. So that's usually my kind of cup of tea.
Yeah, you don't have to look further sometimes in Springbank for that kind of real funky umami. Funnily enough, we had Owen Gwilt on the chat last week, and she said Springbank would be she answered that. It's got such a great following, Springbank, doesn't it? But me and Russell are going through a little mini Glen Scotia phase at the moment, which is great. Off the back of them getting the whiskey of the year. We thought it was great to show people that there is more to Campbellton than just Springbank.
Absolutely.
Because people think of Campbellton, they automatically think of the Campbellton Festival, which is primarily Springbank. So it's great to see that there's other, and when you're down at the festival at Springbank, 9 times out of 10 you'll be heading over to Isla the weekend after. Last year being this year as well being the odd years that you can't get over.
Yeah, for this year, for example, we've tried to give that sort of sense of being there by arranging a 360 tour of the distillery, because we've done so much over the last couple of years in terms of refurbishment, expansions, and just works in general, that I felt like there must be a way to show it in its entirety and in its full beauty. So we're like, yeah, let's arrange that. Let's get something like that. So in our little way, we try to get it out to the world as they were there. But it's been really, really difficult to miss that sort of festival, that sort of celebration with people, and just the get together and celebrate with a nice tasting, with a bottle of the face release. We hope next year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's hope so. Yeah.
Prior to, obviously you worked with Diageo, but that was in Italy, and prior for working with Kilchoman, did you get much of a chance to travel around some of the other distilleries, some other parts of Scotland? And
I did a little bit, yeah. I usually, when I was at the society, I've traveled quite a bit, and every single time that I'm traveling around Scotland, I usually stop to take a pic, even if it's not for a full tour. I would just park my car and just do a walk around in the distilleries. So if they see a weird one, just walking around and just looking at things, that would be me, and just popping into the shop and just buying a couple of bottles. But yeah, I did, and it was at the early stage of when I moved in Scotland. So it was just dipping myself into the culture, into the whiskey community, and learning as much as I could from it.
It's funny, you can't help yourself. You can't help yourself doing that. Macduff Distillery is just up the road from me, and it's not open to visitors. But I found myself driving into the grounds, just almost waiting for somebody to come out with a brush, kind of, get out of here, you shouldn't be. But I thought I'm going to drive around anyway, just kind of.
Mike, you should get like an Inverurie whiskey shop badge and just show it around. So just put it on the car and just Inverurie everywhere, so everybody knows it.
We actually, a couple of friends, we go around, or we used to, we haven't got in the last couple of years, hire a bus, get a driver, and just drive around distilleries. And we just sit in the car park and have a dram from that distillery. We were at Antea Distillery, which at the time didn't do tours. And somebody came out of the distillery and walked up, and we thought, oh, here we go, we're going to get moved on. But no, he just kind of round the window down, oh, what you doing? So we're just up to see the distillery, we've got a dram, and just kind of, he said, do you want to see inside? I said, really? He said, yeah. So the 6 of us just jumped out, and he just gave us like an unofficial guided tour of the thing. It was absolutely superb.
Brilliant, isn't it?
It's the only time we've had that. It normally is, as Russell says, you can't, the health and safety rules, you can't come here, without an appointment and all that, which you understand, if something was to happen then. But and I've learned that in the 5 years of being at the shop, we've learned that you can't just go willy-nilly around distilleries and walk around them. It's a bit of a no-no.
Yeah, exactly. No, there's a lot of health and safety involved. So it's even like taking a tour. I've done it during our face day, and it's really hard work. You see the team and the visitor center think, wow, this is the best job in the world. It's actually really hard work. It's exhausting. So totally get it. But when you get that sort of special treatment, you can have a pick in a distillery that nobody else has seen it apart from the people that are working in there. It's amazing. It just gives you a completely different vision of what's happening in there, rather than just seeing the building outside. So it's almost like you're opening the Pandora box.
And you get to, with all credit to a lot of the distilleries, sometimes you could tell if it's a script or if it's a personal tour. So my wife, I think you've met Tony, has been a tour guide at a couple of distilleries over the last couple of years, and she'd be encouraged to put her own twist on things, tell her own jokes and that. And you go to some other distilleries and it's, you try and have a little bit of banter, but if it's not in the script, you can see the guide is going
to read it.
Yeah, let's rein it in here.
I'd like to talk about that.
Yeah, which is, it's a shame in a way, but it's obviously a system that works. And imagine it's the distilleries who are churning out lots of tourists every day, and it's about getting the tour done. It may be in the tasting room, you're a bit more relaxed and they can have a bit of a laugh there, but they know that there's another 15 guys behind them, so they want to kind of push on.
Yeah, absolutely. Get to the next one.
Well,
that's not everybody's cup of tea, but yeah, it's absolutely what happens. And yeah, obviously there are a certain amount of details they can give out of the distillery and share it with customers. But I feel like that in the more rigid ones, in the ones there's not a little bit of a laugh, a little bit of an insight, there's something missing. And I'm not saying I've been to one, or that's personally my taste. I feel like if I haven't had fun having a look around the distillery and haven't seen something that it's a little bit different from the others, I will be a little bit disappointed.
Yeah. So we just have to go try them all and find out if
exactly.
Well, absolutely.
I'm sure they'll all be all good though.
Yeah. As long as I'm not driving.
Sometimes depends how many drams you've had. If you're the driver, that's not usually such an enjoyable experience. If you're the non-driver, then it's always a great experience.
Well, if it's a few of us, we can get a bus, and there's not that problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
The problem, we have a bus that we drive around people. That's what we end up driving.
Yeah.
Really looking forward to them starting up again. We got an email through Glenfarclas are opening up on the 5th of July.
Oh, brilliant.
Touch wood, everything going out. So
for tours.
For tours, yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
And I'm hoping that's going to start the ball. I know there's a couple of guys doing tasting events and virtual tours in Speyside, and so hopefully that'll be the start of it.
I remember the tours at Glenfarclas. They've always been one of my favorites. I think that one of the last time I went there, it was quite deep into winter, so there were just a few people with us, but it was such an intimate tasting. You could really feel the essence of the distillery just hugging you, basically. Great one.
So I've been on a few at Glenfarclas, obviously through running the tours, and every one has been different. That's when I think you've got a good team at your distilleries. Every tour is different, so you could go back time and time again.
Russell, this is my big disappointment in the shop. I don't know if that's what you were about to say that, were you? Yeah.
Just about, but I'm going to add to it because he was in the shop again yesterday.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, George Grant came down to the shop. I don't know if you know Louise from Paul Roger.
No, I don't.
She's based in Glasgow, so like yourself, an ambassador who's now back on the road. So she came up to visit us yesterday. She had her dog Whisky with her, which we always welcome dogs. And George was there as well, so he came up. We had a sit down, a good blether. So Russell's. Well, I'll let you tell the story of.
Well, the story was you've been in the shop.
The second most disappointing story. The first, obviously, being that you haven't ridden to go home and combine yet.
Yeah, but that's but the thing is, I've been promised a shot of that. So
we'll get into that later.
The only problem for that disappointment is if I'm going to get there and they say no, you're not allowed. So, but no, the shop, as you know, when you come in the door, we had for safety reasons, we had a kind of counter right at the door. So people weren't actually coming into the shop; they were just kind of click and collect and picking stuff up. But I had two customers. One was dropping off a DPD parcel, which is one of the things that we provide in the shop. So I was dealing with that at the same time as I was trying to get a whiskey or decide on a whiskey for somebody who was looking for a gift. And this gentleman came in behind them, and he said, "I'm just dropping some stuff off." So I had to basically say, "That's fine. Just put it on the floor there," because I was so busy with these two other people. And it wasn't until they'd all gone and, everything was done and dusted. The guy was away, and Tony came back, and she went, she looked at the stuff on the floor. She goes, "Oh, it's George Bean with the Glenfarclas stuff." I said, "With George Grant?" She's like, "Yeah." I said, "Was that him?" I was like, "Oh." I dismissed him like some kind of delivery boy. It was like I just stick out of the, because I was so busy with these two people. I thought, damn it. But of course, I'd never met him before, so I didn't know who he was. So yeah.
In your defence, he did say that he had parked up across the road and he hadn't bought a ticket, so he was wary himself that he was only going to say hello, and that was it.
I know that feeling. So
just stick them in the corner. That's fine. Yeah.
The first time I met George was at the Mash Tun in Aberlour, and it was after a full day of whiskey. And I don't know about you guys. I know you're both dog lovers. After a full day on the drink, if I see a dog, it captures my attention.
Best friend.
So
yeah.
I spent more time talking and playing with his dog than I did realizing this is George Grant, the owner of. So I got a photo with the dog, but I didn't get a photo of George. So that was my story with first meeting George. And then so it must have been a good impression because he took a lot of the guys up to the distillery the day after. And did a warehouse tour. So really nice guy. So laid back, so kind of chilled out and humble. So
I'll really look forward to that chat.
Yes.
Yeah, me too.
Whenever you guys are doing it.
I'm not just dismissing him. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that'll be, a really good introduction for you two.
Yeah. Do you remember when I thought you were a delivery man? Yeah.
I'm sure that's a story he will tell.
How about yourself, Antea? Have you had any embarrassing stories that you don't mind sharing?
Oof, so many. I've got this.
Let's forget tennis. Let's forget Diageo. Let's stick to whiskey.
Well, I've got this thing that, whenever I'm going into a shop, I don't really introduce myself. I don't really say my name. And I just say, I'm from Kilchoman Distillery. And then, when people get my cards, they're just like, "You're the ambassador, or are you the brand manager?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, sorry." So yeah, I usually do that, and just people think I'm just stopping by and pretending I'm somebody from a distillery. But yeah, I'm such an awkward person in terms of socializing, and I don't really put myself too much out there or talk too much. But when I do, I just open it up, and sometimes I say too much. So that will be probably a long series of stories, which I can tell, from beer to whiskey, everywhere. But the funniest thing is whenever I do a tasting and then I start to put Italian words here and there, or people are just like, "Why are you just moving your head so much? You feel like I'm seasick." And I'm like, "Oh, sorry." And then I'm just putting it back. But yeah, nothing that stands out, but I think that's enough. Or the cat.
I think sometimes talking too much. Sometimes talking too much is maybe a brand ambassador qualification, because I think Ben Chambers from Glenallachie openly admits that he says, I really shouldn't say this because I say too much all of a sudden, woof, off he goes. It's brilliant. And Ben just says exactly what he thinks, and it's fantastic. I just love that. I think that's what you guys should be like. That's exactly what you should be like.
Yeah.
And me and Ben shared a bit of a path as well. Well, we shared the same. Well, we shared the same job for a while. So he was at tenants, I was at tenants after him, and taking his role. So we know each other really well, and I feel like that it's always been a good laugh when we were together, because probably we're a little bit similar in that sort of. I said too much. Now I need to stop. When it's two of us, it never stops.
We're not recording when he says it.
Yeah, make sure it's after the recording switched off. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. What were you saying, Mike?
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah, Ben's quite good at. As you were on the Kilchoman night that we had with you, you'll make sure things are turned off, recording is stopped, and then maybe there's a little bit of snippets of information. In your case, in Ben's case, it's just here's don't repeat it. But
That is.
oh God, we're going to get Ben tracked with this. Sorry if you're watching.
Sorry,
Billy,
Ben.
Richard, if
Sorry,
you're
so
watching.
sorry. I'll give you a phone later. Sorry.
We're only joking.
We love you, Ben. We really do.
Yeah. But yeah. So what's next for you at Kilchoman? Obviously, you love the whiskey industry, and it's clear that you love the brand, the distillery. Can you see yourself becoming more production? Are you happy where you are? What's the next stage in your development?
Well, I love production.
Right.
I really do, but I don't really trust myself that much to be alone in charge of a still for too long. I've got a very short attention span, and that's really not helping when you need to, do so many things together. So when I was doing shift with Lyle, we were always like, okay, we need to put the temperature up in the stills, and then turn on the mash tun, and then we need to go and turn the malt. Okay, let's go and turn the malt. Then after turning the malt, it was like, oh, this is okay. Okay, I'm done. It's like, no, I mean, we need to go check. We need to take the other water into it. And I was like, I forgot about that. So I'm probably not the most reliable person in that sort of environment, because I tend to do things, and once I'm done, I'm just done. But my level of expertise is around, probably talking to people and just selling the whiskey and just sharing what I love about the distillery with them. So I really see myself doing it in a way that, it affects most markets. So for example, in October, probably we're going to be start traveling again, or what they say. I'm going to be doing some travel in Europe, and really hope that could evolve into Asia, into America, etc., etc. Right. So that would be my top notch, and that would be me for the rest of my life, hopefully. If you see something moving up there, I was trying to say it before. It's a cat.
I did see it. Yes, yeah. So part of your travels maybe to Germany. Tobias is just saying he had to pour a little highball. It's 33 degrees in Germany just now. He's watching us from a hammock in the garden. I am so jealous, Tobias. I'm so jealous.
That's all right, isn't it?
Very jealous. Yeah.
I don't think I could drink whiskey lying in a hammock.
In a hammock, yeah, that may be a bit of a challenge.
The difficulty is not drinking it; it's getting back up again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, sometimes I struggle to get out of a seat, let alone a hammock.
But in terms of, there's another good friend of ours who was working away as the global brand ambassador, who's now got himself a role as master blender. Won't name any names, but is that, the blending side of things, is that something that you think you'd like to get involved in more?
I love that side of things, and mixing the cask, marrying the cask together, that's amazing. Just the selection of it, as I got to do it with Anthony, it just blew me away. I was a couple of hours in Consby with them, with James, back a few months ago. We were selecting cask for website for customers, and I was just like, wow, I love to do that. That's my dream job. So yeah, ultimately, if I'm lucky enough to get to this stage and to be able to rely on my palate as much, I would love to do it. It's so gratifying, even like selecting single cask as I'm doing just now. It's something that, I never thought it was going to be so great to see people commenting about that particular cask, and the organoleptic notes, the finishes. It's almost like it's my baby. Even if I didn't make that particular spirits, I've made a few casks, but it wasn't mine. But because of the fact I've selected it, or I maybe picked one instead of another, it just makes it feel like there's a little bit of my job in there, which it's definitely worth doing.
Yeah,
that sounds very, very exciting. We get to do a little bit of it when we select a single cask for a shop bottling, when we get maybe 4 or 5 samples from a distillery, and then we choose the one, and that can be quite exciting as well. And it's nice when usually it's the one that typically the one that both Mike and I like for sure, along with many others, is usually the one that's then chosen for the shot bottle, and that is quite gratifying. And then for other people to see that that's a fantastic bottle of whiskey. We didn't make it, but we chose it. But still, it's still good,
Yeah, it's the same feeling that I have.
Yeah.
It's incredible. I was going to say, have you ever had a single cask Kilchoman just for your?
Yeah.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. For the shot, that's a question we typically ask people. So yes.
Yeah. We briefly mentioned. I was over a number of years ago when Kilchoman was under the Paul Roger distribution, and I got invited with some other shops, and we spoke about it. But at the time, we were fairly young, and I didn't think we could get a whole cask. Briefly spoke to the guys at House of Malt about doing a cask share, but it never really came to it. I think they ended up taking a whole cask themselves, actually. But yeah, now we're in a much more kind of stable position where that's the kind of things we would definitely look for. I'm actually quite anxious, or not anxious, but keen to help Tobias out here, because he says it's too hot for whiskey, or almost too hot for whiskey. What would be your recommendation for a whiskey cocktail that would help him if it's too hot for whiskey?
Oh, I would do. Oh gosh, I can't remember the name just now. But basically, like some sort of a cooler. So, a couple of shots of whiskey, few drops of bitters. I would do something like probably orange bitter. If you feel like you want a little bit of a kick of sugar, a little bit of simple syrup, just mix it with really thin ice, so smashed ice, and a little bit of orange peel on the top, just a little bit of mint, and that will be me. The water, the ice will obviously melt, will create a much smoother whiskey. And if you feel like you want to go even on the easier side, you can add a little bit of ginger ale or a little bit of soda water to it, and it's just delicious. Can't remember the name just now.
Hey, we'll just call it bloody fantastic. It sounds amazing.
Yeah, it is something that it's very straightforward, but it's very effective. And because you get a nice garnish, you just twist it and spritz all the oils off the orange. You get that sort of freshness of the mint. It just really works well. Actually, going to look it up.
Is it an old fashioned?
No, it's not an old fashioned, because you use crushed ice with it.
Yeah, but the ingredients sound similar to an old fashioned, but then you start adding the mint and the soda or the ginger ale, just kind of takes it away.
A pimped up old fashioned.
Yeah.
I need to call my bartender. My partner is, a mixologist, so he'll be helping me out. But
I love that. I need to call my bartender.
Bartender.
Okay. I've been for too many years out of the industry, so that'll be mint julep. Oh yeah, Philip.
There we go.
Yeah, mint julep.
Top price to Philip. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, and you can do it with single malts. You can do it with bourbon. You can do it with rum as well. So it's a very flexible cocktail, and you don't need to stick to a recipe. You can add, whatever bitter you want. If you feel like you want to go a little bit more on the chocolatey side, there's chocolate bitter. More tropical side, you can use bitters, all sorts of things.
So talking about the mixology, and I suppose you're bound to see where your partner works for the best place to go for a cocktail, but living in Edinburgh, there's some fantastic bars. We're kind of aware of some of the good whiskey bars and things, but so where would you suggest that we go for a really good whiskey in Edinburgh, and also where would we go for a really good cocktail?
Well, that's a difficult one, because there are so many good places. It's hard to pick one.
Yeah.
For a really good whiskey, by the selection they have, it will either be the Balmoral at Scotch, or there's so many others. I would say probably the Mother Superior down in Leaf, because they're very, very different cocktail bars and whiskey bars as well, and they have an amazing selection, and the people are just extremely knowledgeable. So if you don't know what to get, you always get a good recommendation.
Is it called Mother Superior on the back of Trainspotting?
Yes.
It is, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
You know who the Mother Superior in Trainspotting is, Mike, yeah?
Yeah.
Wow, that's brilliant.
Yeah, very clever. And actually, it's one of the many businesses that opened during lockdown. So it's definitely one place that it's worth visiting and support. And it's an independent one. So it's always
Trainspotting is one of my favourite films. And my wife and I and her brother Neil, we're terrible for just quoting lines from films all the time. So the bit where they're in the park. Well, not that I'm a dog fan, so I don't promote this, but it's a brilliant scene where can you see the beast? Have you got him in your sights? And so I just love that movie. It's just fantastic. There's so many great lines.
Yeah,
so definitely got to go to Mother Superior. Yeah.
Just emphasize vocal lines, like no other kind of lines. Yeah, just vocal lines.
Just the vocal ones. Yeah, yes, the vocal ones. Yeah. Well, they weren't doing lines anyway. It was more of a direct route, wasn't it? Yeah.
In fact, we've had a compliment from Darren just about the Glenallachie that we did for the shop. Saying it's fantastic. So thanks very much for that, Darren.
I haven't tried that yet.
Well, we'll need to keep you some, Antea. Yeah, we'll need to get you a drop of that.
Yeah,
I love it.
We are down to our last kind of load of them, but we've just selected the next cask. But if all goes well with that one, we'll certainly be in touch for something from Kilchoman. Maybe the first Inverurie Whisky Shop tequila cask or mezcal cask.
Ooh.
Wow.
If Andy would let us have one of those.
Well, we'll ask Anthony. You never know.
Listen, Mike, I'll give up. I'll give up my shot in the combine just to get that cask instead.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I think we talked about it in my last visit. It was crazy because I was there in September. Sorry, that was my dog. I was there in September, and that was the first time that Anthony got to drive combine in 15 years. So even for him, that was a completely new one.
I've got a long wait.
15 years, Russell, 15 years.
I don't have that much time left.
Of course,
and it was really fun.
I can imagine. Yeah, we'll have to get a trip over. We have we've talked about a couple other group chats that we've had about getting a trip over to Ireland, do something through the shop. So yeah, I think that's definitely something we need to do once everything's opened up. I'm sure the guys watching will be slavering away at that.
Yeah, very.
So I think we've managed to get through the hour, Antea, without.
Oh, we did. Sorry, it froze. I said yes, we did. It's just gone by really quickly.
You were saying without what, Mike? I missed the without.
So we managed to full hour without having any digs at your accent. So I think we've done all right.
I did it myself anyway.
We've done all right.
Indeed.
You didn't
make any dad jokes as well. So.
Well, there's still time for that.
Just a reminder, I think you've told us already, Antea, but whereabout in Italy is it you're from?
I'm from the north of Italy, so northwest, a little town called Cuneo, which is well known for being a wine region. So we make Barolo, Barbaresco, Nebbiolo.
Oh, nice.
So my first career, or the way that I wanted to go in life, was to study and enter into the wine business. And then life brought me into a completely different direction.
Yeah. So the northwest is kind of closer to like Turin and Milan.
Yeah.
In the Alps, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm from a little town up on the Alps. It's like 600 meter up, and it's a very weird weather because you can have like minus 20 degrees during winter, and you can have like a 40-degree summer, for example, and then late August it can easily snow, and then you're just like. So yeah, I don't usually complain about the weather in Scotland because I'm pretty used to the weather that I had in Italy was nothing like this.
My European geography is usually centered around football and cycling, so yeah.
Well, we're doing well in football, so yeah, we can't complain on that side of things.
Italy has been my second team for many, many years, so yeah.
I'm saying nothing on the football.
Yeah. Just pick a second team. Mike, as a Scotsman, you've got to pick a second team. I picked Italy back in, it was way back in 1982. They were my second team, and they went on to win it that year, and they've been my kind of second team. Usually my first team, because Scotland haven't qualified for so long, so I've only ever got Italy to support. But this year I've got two teams for a while.
So for you, Mike, tough question.
For my second team.
Your second team.
Yeah. Well, I've always had a soft spot for Croatia. Since the '98 World Cup, they came third, and they had such a fantastic team. So I think they became my second team after Scotland got knocked out that year, and I've always kind of followed them a wee bit then. So I would say Croatia, but they're getting old. They're not quite the team they were, I'm afraid. So both my teams are getting knocked out in the first round this year.
Let's hope they still have a bit of a shot. Well, it goes without saying that I don't have a favourite. So Italy and Scotland are side by side. So whoever wins, it'll just make me happy. As long as they don't lose, and then I'm all good.
Yeah.
It's always a difficult one when it comes to football.
Doug is asking for plenty notice when we plan the trip over to Isla.
I think we've easily filled the minibus. I don't think there's any problem with that. We just need to make sure we've got a comfy minibus. So we might need to hire an executive one with a driver so that Mike or I aren't driving all the time as well, which would be quite nice. And maybe you don't want Mike or us to drive, to be honest. That might
be. I was going to say, why neither of you is driving?
Well, there'll be a reason for that. Yeah. Purely selfish reasons. Absolutely.
Making the best out of it, absolutely.
Yeah, we don't want our bum getting numb for the combine harvester. We want to enjoy that.
Well, time is ticking, so September will be around the corner. So I'll let you know if they need a couple of spare hands.
Go. Yeah.
Listen, so that'll be September 2035. Yeah.
Antea, I'm that sad. I'd be quite happy to stand at the side of the field and watch the combine because I do that anyway. I always do that. If I'm driving and there's a combine in the field, I'll pull over and get out and just stand and watch. I just love the harvest. I think it's fantastic.
It's such an incredible machine as well. It's huge, it's massive, and then when it comes by, it doesn't make much noise. You know, you see it from afar and you're like, oh my god, it's just gonna kill me. And then it's almost like a gentle giant.
Yeah. But yeah, I love the smell. I love the smell of in the air, because when you're anywhere in Aberdeenshire during the harvest, that's all you can smell is the smell of the harvest, and it's just fantastic. And you just start thinking, there's whiskey in there somewhere.
It's going to be whiskey.
yeah, I love it. Absolutely love it.
Absolutely. So from the minibus to the combine, basically, we'll do that sort of shift.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah. So Duncan, Darren, Phil, all asking for plenty notice. You've got 15 years time to save up, so we'll go for the combine.
We'll surely make it happen before then, for goodness sake.
Absolutely.
It would be fantastic. I've been lucky enough to get to Isla a couple of times. it's just a fantastic place to be. So
yeah, I've only
yeah.
experienced it during lockdown, which has been a bit of a shame because I was helping through production. And the last time I went was during Fish, but obviously it wasn't at the same, entity as usually Fish is. So I really look forward to go, and it's, a vibrant Highland, it's full of tourists again, with the pubs full, and, hopefully nobody will need to wear a mask and worry about and share a drink, but I think it'll be a few months for us to be able to do that.
Yeah, definitely. I think definitely it would be something probably for next year, just to make sure that not only are the restrictions lifted enough, but everyone's comfortable with it. Yeah, because I think even though restrictions might be lifted by the end of this year, everyone still has to get their confidence back, and we want people to do these things and enjoy it rather than worrying about.
Absolutely.
So, but definitely something to look forward to.
Duncan has never been.
So yeah.
Neither have I.
No, well, we'll have to remedy that.
Well, yeah, we'll have to arrange it.
It leaves a better taste in Russell's mouth as to why he's never been, but we won't go into that one.
No, I don't think it's the time.
We were talking earlier about.
We've had that conversation. You're fully aware.
Yeah, we'll make sure that we'll find another way.
Absolutely.
Let's just say that.
There's more than one way to skin a cat, as they say.
Always.
Not that we do any skinning of cats. I'm not condoning or promoting that kind of behaviour at all.
I was sleeping, so. Well, guys.
Awesome. Yeah.
What other drums have you got lined up for tonight before we go?
Well, I'm going to head off after we're here. I'm going to catch up with the guys at East City Whisky Club, and they're doing a Fetter Cairn tasting tonight.
Brilliant.
Gary Dunsire. So I haven't seen them for a long time. I think the last time I was on that chat, I may have fallen asleep during an Ardmore night.
No may have about it, Russell. I was there.
I haven't. It was a long day at work. I came home. I get in the door. Listen. I was tired.
It happens.
And what happens in Zoom is supposed to stay in Zoom, but apparently not. So I've got 5 Fetter Cairn drams to have a go at tonight. I think Fetter Cairn's a distillery that's one of the ones that's probably worth looking at for people. So give that a go tonight. I've really enjoyed a lot of the tastings, a lot of the ones that we've done through the shop, and a lot of other ones that I've done through other clubs. It's a great way of actually learning about different distilleries. So that's my evening. Yeah.
Good.
I'm going to pour myself another one of the port casks, and then I'm going to have to help move stuff around the house. We've got a delivery coming, a new washing machine, a new fridge tomorrow, so we need to make the house ready for that. So
hard work tomorrow.
I'm keen. I don't know if Tony's watching, but I might just pretend to be talking on the laptop for another hour. Just pretend that we're on live.
We can just put a pictures up, and me and Russell just be like.
Just play it back. Just play it back straight away, mate.
Play it back and watch it. Yeah, I'll watch it. Yeah.
Oh, it's frozen. I'm trying to fix it. Well, guys, that was a blast. And
yeah, thank you very much. We always appreciate you guys.
Yeah, no, it'd be great to see you back up at the shop again, Antea. Yeah, fantastic.
I'm jealous of Darren, who's cracking open his Bring Back Society bottling next. That'll be a cracker, I'm sure. But yeah, we always appreciate you guys giving up your time to come and chat with us for a wee bit on your Thursday nights. We really appreciate what you do for us at Kilchoman and all the whiskey you send over our way. It's been awesome. We've got a great selection. And I dare say, maybe just after the summer when the nights are getting a wee bit cooler, which I think is the best time for Kilchoman, is we'll get a good tasting. Touch wood in person. If not, we could do maybe some kind of hybrid event, and we'll get something on the go.
Either way will be great.
Yeah,
absolutely. Thanks very much, Antea.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
thanks,
see you again.
guys. You know, we always kind of look back on these tastes or these not the taste these blethers. So if you've got any questions, feel free to pop them in, and if Russell or I can't answer it, we'll ping it on 10T. I'm sure you don't mind answering a few later on if they come in.
Absolutely.
So thanks very much. Enjoy your weekend. Hopefully the boys can do you proud tomorrow night. I think Italy are already through, aren't they? They've kind of won both.
Italy are done and dusted. Yeah, two simple simple 3-0 wins. Yeah, Locatelli. Bad boy.
I think we're Sunday the next one. So yeah.
This is a friendly on Sunday.
Yeah.
Cheers, guys.
We'll be out by then, so you'll be my second team then.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice to see you. Bye bye.
Good night, guys.
Fantastic.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, cheers, guys. Good night. Thank you. Bye bye.